Hi, it's Paula from Pola Quilting. Welcome back to my channel. I'm back today with another tutorial with the magic numbers, and today's tutorial is even easier shape wise because we're only using 2.5 by 4.5 inch kind of scraps and 4.5 by 4.5 inch squares. And as you can see, I've got them in two colors, which is blue and white, but you can make your own combinations as well. We will be making clouds, and this is cloud number 1, so there will be two tutorials in this mini series, cloud 1 and cloud 2. They're coming to the same size, so you'll be able to mix and match them in your quilt, and then you just put it together anyhow you like. I'll also show you how to use some crumbs in this design later on, and in the second part we also talk about adding sashing and adding borders, just to kind of maybe segregate those clouds a little bit more. So let's get started. So for the first cloud we will need quite a lot of pieces, and the number of each of the pieces I will say in a minute as well, but just to make it easier, there is going to be free handout on my website, so you can go there and download, which will cover how many pieces of each, the layout, where to put them, how, you know, later to put it into the cloud as well. So we will need 20 of squares, white-ish squares, something I use as a background here, fabric. So 20 4.5 by 4.5 and 2.5 by 4.5, and then in blue section I need 12 of the squares and I need 2 of the rectangles. And like I said, your color combination can be different. You know, clouds are coming in different shades depending on the time of the day, atmospheric, you know, circumstances, and where you are in the world as well. So feel free to make them in different combinations. Mine combination is the cloud is white and the background is blue, but you could also make it other way around. Like I said, it's all in your kind of imagination, and also depending on scraps you've got in your baskets. So first what we want to do is create a kind of a shape of the kind of round section of that design. So what we will be doing is using the cathedral kind of stitching technique. I did few tutorials with that technique. You can look them up on my channel. I will also link them in the description below. And we need 8 of them. So take 8 of my background fabric, and as you can see, I've got some of the fabric which got quite kind of darker design on it. So I will use actually a wrong side as a right side of the design. So this is what we will see when we stitch the block together. So I need 8 of those, and I will just choose 8 different squares. 1, 2, 8. And what I need to do is take 8 of my blue squares, and that's what we will use to create those curves on our clouds. So take your white squares, they are going to be our background fabric, and blue is going to be the one which we'll be creating our curves with. So I'm going to put them into half, all of them. You can also use the iron to kind of make those squares very crisp, kind of the middle section very crisp. So you don't have to, you can also finger press, depend on your preference. Okay, so I've got my 8 white squares and I've got my 8 blue squares. Let's get to the machine. Okay, so the first step I want to do is take my background white square, put my blue triangle on top of it. Again, in this one I'm using the wrong side as a right side, just to not have those very heavy black spots on my front of my block. So you want to line them up and you want to baste it. So you can lengthen the stitch size to maybe like 3. It's just, this stitch is just to keep it all in place, and also you want to stitch it less than a 1/4 inch. Obviously later we'll be stitching the pieces together with 1/4 inch, so whatever stitch you're choosing, just it has to be slightly less than a 1/4. And like I said, you can now kind of chain piece all of it, make it fairly quick process. because you're just doing the same thing all over. And if you're gonna make more than one block, obviously you can do that for whole batch. 8, you need 8 for one cloud A, or cloud number 1, so you can just do in one go as many as you need times 8, and just chain piece that. Okay, so I've stitched all my, or kind of pasted all my triangles to keep it in place. Now don't forget to change your stitch length to your usual one if you have changed it a little bit larger to speed up this process. So my machine usually comes back to 2.4, but you may have a different preferred one, and that's fine. So what we want to do now is bend that triangle towards outside here. You can, if you like, take it to this iron and kind of press it first before you come stitching. It will hold it nicely for you, or you can just go for it like I am now, whatever kind of makes your preference. Now don't worry if it sticks out here a little bit, you can trim it later, or just when you're sewing it together, just keep in mind that you want to align your individual pieces of the block against the white part rather than sticking out a blue one. So that's again something you can either leave or you can kind of trim it later. So like I said, the lip of the triangle now we're moving outwards, and we want to stitch. Now where to stitch? You can stitch on this edge to make it very flat, you can stitch in the middle, you can use decorative stitches. Again, that's kind of your preference. You can do a little bit of experimenting, see what you like the best before you start making the block. I will just stitch on this edge here with the straight stitch. Again, that's something you can chain piece, so that will be nice and quick process. To pivot every now and then, you may like to leave the presser foot just to kind of follow it, to make nice and neat on those curves here. Okay, all of my curves have been stitched, and I will actually take it now to the iron and press it nice and flat, because you may see they are a little bit of wonky at this point of time, but because this is on bias, when you press it nicely and flat with the hot iron, it will make it, you know, nice and flat again as it was before you stitch something on it. So quick pressing at the iron board, and I can show you the layout of the block 1. Before I show you my finished project, just a quick reminder where you can find me and how you can support my work. You can subscribe to my website to be notified when new tutorials, products or patterns are released. You can find me on my Facebook page, Pola Photo, or you can join my group page, Pola Quilting with Friends, where we all share work made inspired by my tutorials and answer any questions you may have. There is Instagram account called Pola Quilting, and if you like to share something you made based on my tutorials, please tag me using hashtag Pola Quilting with Friends. To support my work, please like, comment and share when you see my posts or tutorials. Let your quilting friends know about this channel and invite them to the group, and subscribe to my channel. If you like to contribute extra, you can use super thanks on YouTube, or buying me virtual tea, coffee or lunch available on my page. All links are in the description below. I would like to thank you all for all the support so far. and letting me grow in what I do. My pieces are back. So you can see they are now again nice and flat. You may have some of those dog ears here, but that's fine. Either trim it, you know, from the back so you can see where the square kind of is, or leave it and just make sure that when you'll be stitching two pieces together later, you line up with the background fabric rather than with that kind of blue color. So either way is fine. So let's set it up. I hope I've got enough kind of space in the camera to lay it out, because it's quite big block, like I'd mentioned. So we're starting with the blue square. Just move this out of the way. I actually move this out of the way as well. So starting with the blue square at the top there, then we'll have one of our curves. Then we'll have some white blocks, two of them. Then we'll have another curve. Then we'll have our 2.5 by 4.5 blue piece, and the blue at the end. As you can see, it's a very big block. I don't know if you can actually see it all in my camera. Let me just move it a little bit. Okay, I think you should be able to see it better now. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 squares here in kind of one row. Then there's a 2.5 by 4.5 and another square. That block finishes at 26 by 16 inches, so it's quite big block. But what this means is you make few clouds and you've got the cloud blanket really quickly. So it's a nice project. So that's the first row. Then we've got our curve. I will go with the whites again. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then we have to have our 2.5 inch by 4.5 inch white, and then we go with the curve. Let's just take different color. You could have the same color of the blue, to be fair. It depends again what you've got in your scrap boxes. Then we want to close our curve on this side, and we'll go with the white again in the middle. So again 2.5 by 4.5 in here. We're closing again the curve. And the last row now, we start from a blue square. Then we've got 2.5 by 4.5 blue. Basically we're kind of doing opposite what we've done here at the first row. Then we go with the curve, some white blocks, white, white, closing the curve, and the blue at the end. And this is what we need to stitch. Now you can stitch each row separately, put it back, and then stitch each rows you know, together, or you can chain piece. I know some of those there are a few places here where they will not totally match up, but that's fine. You still will be able to kind of chain piece the columns. But then when you come to stitching the rows, when you're ready, you just need to snip those threads where you have a mismatch between the blocks in between. So I will do it that way. You do it whatever you prefer, whatever is your preferred method, or whatever is easier for you. Like I've mentioned, there's a layout of this block on my website, so you don't have to remember how I've done it here. You just go there, download the handout for block number 1, and you're good to go. Now please be sure to come back for part 2, because we'll have a block 2, and also I will show you how those blocks look together. I'll show you how I replace some of the section with the cramps, and how kind of you can put that quilt together. And also we'll be talking about adding the maybe sashing in between to spread the clouds, and also how to add the borders to the blocks to make it the easiest way. Happy sewing everyone, and see you in the second tutorial with this pattern. Thank you for joining, thank you for watching, and see you next time.